Hello there, traveler, and welcome to a replay analysis. In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about Protoss sucking cock while Zerg vs. Terran happens on StarCraft. I actually didn't mean to say Protoss, but then I had to go somewhere with that. Okay. On to the game at hand. We're looking at a Zerg's player's perspective here. The Cure. Okay? The Cure is going to be our subject of the day. Diamond level. Let's see what's going on.
Good luck, have fun, and beat them, probably.
Hell yeah. This is a good start. Yeah, well, you know what? Fuck it. This is how we make YouTube videos. We just wing it. Alright. No fucking second takes for this guy. Isn't that Dickin? Isn't this Dickin? This is never mind, sorry. It is Dickin. Decon. The Cure is your opponent. I got no second takes. I got the right person. I just said the wrong name. Sorry. I saw red and I just for some reason was like, Red Zerg, right? No. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. So, what the fuck happened already? What happened to your larva? I'm gonna look at this again. Let's study you. Good job on your first larva. Good job on your first larva. I liked it. It was juicy. Okay, that's what you're doing. That's fucked up. 13 Overlord. Do not 14 Overlord. 14 Overlord, inferior, bad. Stop doing that. It's bad. If a Zerg player out there ever accidentally goes for a 14 Overlord, you have to gas trick. And what a gas trick is you each pull A and you shit your pants. But indirectly. Yeah. What you do with gas trick is you make an Overlord first. Okay, so you go 14 and you make an Overlord. And then at 70 minerals, 70, you take a drone and run it towards your gas and build a gas. And then as your drone is now being told to build the gas, you click your hatchery and try to make a drone as fast as you fucking can. And then as soon as the egg starts that you made, because when the drone makes the gas, your supply goes down by 1. And then when you make a larva off the hatchery, your supply goes back up by 1 again. So you hit 14 out of 14 again. You then immediately cancel the gas. So now your supply is going to be 15 out of 14 in red, because you're going to be oversupply. And then you send your drone that made the gas back to the mineral line to mine minerals again. It takes 75 minerals to do this exactly. So anyone out there who's like, "Right, it's 25 plus 50, fucking stupid. Do you know how to do what it extractor costs?" Yeah. But if you set it at 70, you're going to have 5 minerals of travel time easily. And then you build the gas, and then you get back to mining really quickly. You don't want to have that larva waiting way too long. Maximize it. Okay? And then that's it. But in general, if you go for a 13 Overlord, so 1 drone, and then Overlord, and then drone again, you should be doing that. Do not go 14 Overlord. Because here's why. Your larva caps out if you go 14 Overlord. Notice how you already have 2 larvae. You already have 2 larvae on the hatchery. 1 larva spawns about every 10 seconds. And you have 12 seconds with 2 already on the hatchery before your Overlord's going to be done. You are going to larva cap. Now even if it's for 1 second, that is fucking bad, because as soon as you larva cap, you stop generating larvae, which is really, really, really bad. So let's watch. You're going to larva cap like any millisecond right now. You larva capped right now. And you're still 3 seconds from fucking finishing your Overlord. That is so shit. You're now 3 seconds behind on your larva in the first 30 seconds in the game. You don't want that to happen. That is really, really, that's why you have to gas trick. Shit like that will slow you down like crazy, because this doesn't slow you down right now, but it will slow you down going forward, because it slows down. Like, basically, if you were in a car and you're fucking hitting the gas pedal and you're going up to like 80 miles an hour, already because of this, It's like now you're just like kind of throttling off at like 74 or like 75. Like you're going fast still, but you're not going as fast as you could be because you're kind of fucking it up a little bit now. You're hitting like a speed bump for a second there. So this is bad. This kind of shit will slow you down. Gotta really make sure that larva never gets disrupted. All right, your build's fucking weird. Okay, let's. You are now, if you don't get aggressive with this, if your goal with this is to not, like, it's not double negative. The double negative sounds weird. Your goal should be to knock out the natural expansion with this, but this isn't even a guarantee. You're kind of flipping a coin, going, I hope you expand. And if he does, then that's great. But if he doesn't, this could be a really bad opener for you. This is risky because it relies on the fact that your Terran opponent needs to be going for a low ground command center early. If they go high ground CC, it still sucks anyways because they could have, by the time you get across the map, they could have depot, racks, command center, and you can't even deny it. And then you're just behind because this is really bad for your economy. So I already don't like your build for ladder. This is a specific build that is good for like a tournament when you know how your opponent plays and you're trying to meta them. But for ladder, this is a really bad build because it has very low win rate versatility. It's really good versus one thing. It's really shitty versus a lot of other things. It's a bad overall build. It's not a well-rounded build. And you're expanding behind it. So yeah, you're not even making lings. Okay, your build sucks. Your build's actually awful now. You're ruining your own economy for the purpose of getting an early queen, which makes it doesn't do anything for you. Maybe he's gonna do an early roach push. Oh, we'll see, right? We'll see. I don't like this build already, though. I already do not like this build, but we'll see what's going on.
You made another queen. Nice.
This build is so counterable. If this Terran player microed, he would have lost nothing. I'm just gonna throw that out there. If the Terran player microed, he would have lost nothing. Like a couple, yo, Husheng, thank you as well for the 5-month resub. Appreciate that, man. He could have like halted the SCV building the command center and just ran here for a second and then went back onto it like right there. And you wouldn't even have killed an SCV. But even though you did kill an SCV, even though you did, you are still behind. The only way you can justify pool first in ZvT and making lings on top of it is if your goal is to cancel the natural.
Oh yeah.
Like you.
Hyatt Vibelol Brazil loves you.
Yo, thank you, Rodrigo. I love Brazil. One day I gotta go there, for sure. I bet it's probably really nice there. It's probably really fun. Probably really fun place to go. But thank you very much, Rodrigo, for the 4. Thank you, man. So there's two kinds of pool first builds, right? There's a pool first build that goes into like macro, like what you're doing here right now, and there's a pool first build that goes into an all-in. Now, if you're gonna go into an all-in, you don't have to kill the natural right away because whatever timing you're gonna do, you don't have to go for like lings killing the natural. It doesn't have to go like that. But if you're gonna go for an all-in, then you're gonna probably kill them entirely when your timing happens to hit their base, right? That's the goal there. That's fine. But if you're gonna make lings and you're gonna macro behind it, you need to get some type of advantage out of it. And you need to understand that your advantage that you can get here that would guarantee say that you have the lead would be if you kill the natural or like make him cancel it, essentially. If you kill it, you're really fucking far ahead. If you make him cancel it, you're still ahead because he just wasted a bunch of time. And he also lost 100 minerals on canceling it. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to be the kind of guy that goes for pool first, you got to realize that here's why I don't like it as much. if your opponent scouts you with an SCV and they understand that your hatchery is delayed, all they have to do is leave their barracks units defensive. Don't attack across the map with the Reaper. Instead, defend with the Reaper. And now suddenly your Lings don't do dick. They don't do anything. It's like going pool first with Ling pressure only works if your opponent is the kind of guy who doesn't scout and is greedy. Seriously. That's what it works well against. That's why if you ever see a pro gamer do this, they're probably doing it in the middle of a series where they're starting to realize that their opponent just has a build that is overconfident and they think they can't ever die, and they don't fucking scout because they don't want to waste the money that it takes to scout, and they're confident they can't die anyways. And suddenly a pool first with Lings hit them and they're like, oh fuck, Lings are here. Oh shit, this is really bad. My natural's getting denied and I'm really greedy. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference. What you're doing is you're opening yourself up to setting up yourself into a harder game. I'm just throwing it out there. This is not a optimal ladder build. It isn't. I'm still going to talk to you about how to make it work, but I really want you to know that this build sucks for ladder. It's going to make you fall behind every game. Like this, you're playing at a disadvantage already off the bat. You're going to maintain a shit economy to Terran for a long time. Like you haven't even started your queen at your natural yet. And you've been maintaining a deficit of drone to SCV the entire game so far. This is rough. This is difficult. You're like basically the game going forward now. You need to play a better game to make this work. So ZvT is going to feel harder than it has to because you make the game open like this. It doesn't have to be this difficult. Also, I would recommend your first creep tumor that you make, 100%, I would recommend you make it go from your natural towards your third, as opposed to going from your main to your natural. And the reason why is because the only way you are now going to be able to saturate your third mineral line and protect it is if you skip another inject and make another tumor. Because if you make nothing but drones for a while and you fully saturate this mineral line, and then you continue to make drones for this mineral line, you will not have creep from this tumor all the way to your third by then. You will have drones that are undefended at that base as a result of that. So really always want to make sure you're putting your creep tumor at your natural, because if you fully saturate the natural and then start saturating the third, which is how it goes, right? By the time you want to start saturating the third, the creep will be connected to the creep over here. It will be. But by the time you want to start saturating your third, this tumor will be probably like right there. Because you're going to spread it and spread it and spread it and spread it and spread it, right? It'll take like 2 to 3 spreads to get to there. Depending on how fast you do it.
You made another queen. Nice.
So yeah, you made another inject, or you made another tumor here. So now you have 2 tumors, you have 2 tumors just going out already. And this is another thing to say about the timings of your buildings, which you could argue that are off. Like, you made, so, let me say it like this. Or actually, hold on, let me pause it really fast. I gotta turn my camera off, guys, I'm sorry, like 1 second. I gotta turn my camera off. I know it's a YouTube video. I gotta do this stuff for the sake of the video, because I need to shove a tissue in my nose. My nose is like running right now and it's really uncomfortable. Ah, sweet release. I just put tissue in my nose. Okay, now I can talk without having to be distracted. Okay. So, the point I'm trying to make here is your build was queen, queen, and then like 3 queens out of the main, right? I know you ended up making 1 out of the natural. So you made 2 queens out of the natural, or 2 queens out of the main, 1 queen out of the natural. But you injected your main base with your queen. Or no, you actually did make 2 queens. Wait, what? Hold on. I went too far forward. Let's go back. I want to go back to your first queen. Yeah, yeah. This is where I wanted to be. You actually can't make your second queen at the same time as your first one because you obviously went pool first, right?
The queen.
You injected your base.
Your forces are under attack.
And now nothing's happening.
Our army be scrapped.
You make another queen here. Nothing's happening. Inject is about to pop off. No inject. No inject. No injects.
Our drones are in need.
This build is really, 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 really bad for larva efficiency. The way you want to be, this is how, let me, instead of telling you how not to do it, I'm going to tell you how to do it, okay? Hatch first, with a gas in the pool to follow it up, so you can get ling speed and shit and be safe, and then you can drop your drone count back down to 1, that's totally fine, after you get speed. But the way your injects should be going should be like this, like inject and creep. This is how this should be going, and if it's not, there is some fucking problems with your build. First two queens out of your main and your natural spawn at the same time. Inject, creep. Okay? And then the next wave comes. Inject, inject. The next wave comes. Inject, inject. The next wave comes. And repeat that the whole game. That's it. You should never stop the entire game injecting your main base. The second your queen spawns in your main, you never once stop injecting that hatchery. It is injected forever. And you only skip one inject at your natural and then forever inject your natural. And at your third base, you keep making queens out of your natural and things like that. You keep making queens after your first two out of your first two hatcheries. That's fine. Like ideally make one at a time because you can't really afford two at a time. It's too expensive. But when your third queen spawns, your third queen, you know what it does? It walks to your third base and it sits next to your third base so that as your third base is done, it is immediately injected. And you know what that queen does for the rest of the game? It injects your hatchery forever. It never does anything else. And then every queen you make beyond your first three is going to then forever be a creep, or then it's going to add to your creep. It's going to continue to add more creep to your creep spread, your existing creep spread. But all you need initially is the one creep timmer that can allow you to have vision of entrances to your base and connection between your natural and your third, because this base is super exposed to Hellion Harass. It's exposed to Hellion Harass and it's exposed to like Marine medevac drops. It's so out there by itself. And if you have creep though, it's suddenly not. It's connected and it's easier to defend. But the point I'm trying to make here is you fucking injected your main base once. This is your very first usage of your queen. You injected your main base one time, and then you don't inject anything again. Since 2 minutes and like 42 seconds when that inject popped off, you inject nothing, and 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 nothing. Okay? You injected your main base at like 310, 309. You injected your main at like 309. So that was like a full fucking inject missed. Because that's like 30 seconds. 240 to 39. That's literally like 30 seconds-ish of missed time on your hatchery, which is about what an inject is worth. So you already missed that full inject on the main. And your natural hasn't even been injected once this entire game so far. Nothing. Nothing yet? Okay, there we go. At like 320, your natural finally gets injected. This is super fucking late. Super, 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 super late larva. So you're putting yourself behind with your Ling attack that did nothing, which disrupted your economy. And you're putting yourself behind again by not giving yourself like any larva to utilize really. Like you're not nowhere near enough is what you want to be. And now your third base is done, right? And nothing's happening with your third. Your third base finished at like 340. How long is it going to be before something injects this base? It should be injected immediately. Like right as it's done, inject immediately. Maximize your larva.
We made
If you want to get better at Zerg, you need to respect larva a lot more than you do.
Evolution complete.
Again, the space finished at like 340.
Our army be scraped. A new queen has emerged.
It's been a minute since it's been up, and it hasn't been injected one time. Okay, it took about a minute and like 5 seconds to inject it. That is such a... That right there is like 2 fucking injects missed right there. That's 6 larvae. That is 6 fucking larvae that is just gone. Just from this base alone. From when you took it. There's not enough emphasis for you on your injects. For sure. Little fucked up gas right there. Fucked up mineral line right there a little bit. Mineral lines. This mineral line's not that bad, but that gas is really bad. Okay, you fixed the gas. I'm glad. You get literally 0 efficiency on the 4th drone on gas. It doesn't do a fucking thing. But at least the 3rd drone on one of the mineral patches gets some type, like a little bit of efficiency. Okay, your Evo chambers are way too early. Let's stop talking about your build. Just needs some fucking work. You're going for what looks like a Ling opener into roaches. I'm actually gonna fast forward really fast. I want to see what your overall comp is that you want to use. Okay, you're going Ling Bane, probably like Ling Bane Hydra would be my guess.
Oh my gosh, they're attacking our creep tumors.
I want to see what your final addition is. Yeah, you're going Ling Bane.
The minerals.
Ling Baneola.
Our army mineral field we hey, they're attacking the minerals.
Where is your next tech? There we go. Okay, so you're doing Ling Bane Hydra. So I would say to you, Daisy, the ass white, the ass. I'll just call you ass because you said you're. I'll call you Deacon. Deacon. There's a lot of diamond level plus or master's level stuff where I have done previous coaching lessons or replay analysis to talk about a Ling Bane Hydra style for Zerg versus Terran. It is one of the most requested styles to get analysis on, and I've done a lot of them. So there's tons of examples for me to really break the build down. And for the sake of doing another repetitive session again, I'm not going to go into extreme detail about exactly how your build should go from now for the rest of the game here, because your opener has sucked ass, so there's no recovery on that. You just need to like remake your build. You need a new build over what you're doing right now. This build is really garbage. And I already gave you ideas on the queens. Now to finally give you idea, here's a basic rough draft. You can definitely go watch one of these videos. Again, they're all over my coaching section or my replay analysis section of my YouTube channel. Super easy to find. But if you just to throw it out there, this is basically how it would go, okay? Like a quick rough draft of it for like 10 seconds. Mineral line wise, you go like this. Fully saturate the gas. 1 gas with 1 mineral line. Fully saturate. When you get Ling speed, you take 2 off or 1 off, that's fine, based on whatever build you're doing. Take some drones off of gas when you get Ling speed, and then put them back on gas with 1 gas only when you're fully saturated on the natural. Okay, so you don't reactivate this gas entirely until you're fully saturated on this mineral line. You don't then take more gas until your 3rd mineral line has at least half or more, like 8, 10, 12, something like that. And then when you're around there, when you're like, let's say like 10 drones on your 3rd mineral line, you can take 2 gases now to take you to a total of 3 gases in total. And you keep making drones, and you don't take gases 4, 5, or 6 until you have 3 fully saturated mineral lines with excess drones. So you're not disrupting your mineral lines to take your gas. And also, when I said take your 2 gases with like 8 or 10 drones or whatever, do not rip off the mineral line to take the gas. Make new drones that would then go beyond 8 or 10 or whatever and make those into gas. Do not go down again in drone count on mineral line. That's when you can add on with new drones your gas and shit like that. And then when you're fully saturated on 3 mineral lines and 6 gases, that's when you add on Evo chambers. Your Evo chambers this game are so fucking early. The only reason why you would ever go early now that's kind of the build, right? Now let's talk about your build and talk about how it should work and how things are supposed to work with what you're doing. So I'm done talking about your the way your economy is supposed to develop, and we're done. If you want a really thorough explanation of that, definitely go check out a lot of other Ling Bane Hydra videos I've done that are Diamond Plus level. I've talked about it so many fucking times. There's tons of examples of it. But now let's break down your choices and what will make sense and what doesn't make sense. If you want to go for early evos before tech investment, which is what you did this game, your build order was Roach Warren, evos, Baneling Nest. You went Roach Warren, then Lair, then evos, then Bane Nest. This is backwards. This is bad. And here's why. If you want to get Evo Chamber upgrades first, this is a priority. And you do this right off the bat, right after Ling Speed, as a early game addition to your army. And the proper way to play that style, generally speaking, in a very well-rounded way, is you delay the shit out of your layer, because you're doing a lot of Ling early, and it works the best if you're going to be doing a very counter-attack heavy playstyle. You can still add a Bane Nest into it after you get the upgrades on Hatchery Tech, but you don't rush your layer tech. You don't have the gas for all of this. It's a very light gas build, very mineral intensive. You take like a 4th base really fast without taking all your gases. Like lots of minerals though. You have a lot of creep spread, a lot of queens. You can have static D, lots of Lings with upgrades. But it's counter-attack heavy. You should always be going for like pokes on the mineral lines with Lings and shit like that. That's how you play early Evo Chamber styles. It's Ling heavy and it's counter-attack heavy. If you're not playing that way, if you're not playing super aggressive and counter-attack heavy, stop getting fucking Evos early in the game. It's really bad. Because all it does now is it delays your layer timing, which is when you actually have control. Secondly, in the build, and we'll come back to the Evos and talk about when to properly do it in a minute here. But secondly, about your build, you went for double Roach Warren and Bane Nest. The only time you should ever be doing this is if you're going... There's 2 ways to do this. Number 1, if you're just going to straight up all in your opponent. If you're like, I'm going to hit him with Banelings and Roaches, and I'm going to bust them, and I'm going to go fucking crazy all in here with Ling Bane Roach. That could work. It's a thing you could do. Maybe like Ling Bane Ravager or some shit. Who fucking knows? You could do that if you wanted to. It's very, very... it's again in the aggressive department again, with getting both of them. But realistically, if you're going to play a Ling Bane Hydra style, you should probably most of the time just make a Bane Nest. And that's it. Don't even get the Roach Warren. Now, the only time I would ever say it would make sense to make a Roach Warren would be if you're the kind of player that wants to be really greedy with your larva on drones, and you want to spend less larva on defense, and roaches cost less larva than lings, so you're going to try and be really greedy and make a lot of drones and just get away with it with some roaches, and then later on add on a Bane Nest to then go into Ling Bane Hydra. That's also fine. But this game, you made a lot of Ling Bane, and you made no roaches, and you made a Roach Warren. I fucking don't like that at all, because this is expensive to make this early. And I would rather see you make more Queens and Banes if you're just going to make Ling Bane, even if your opponent does something like goes for a Hellbat all-in or some shit like that. Because if you have enough Queens and you have, like, let's say, like 6 Banelings and, like, 8 Queens, you could easily stop, like, 8 Hellbats with that kind of a composition. No problem. You don't need to make this every game. You should only make it if you're going to either all-in or be very greedy and pretty much make no Lings or Banes. And what you could do then, if that's going to be your playstyle, is, again, you could take, like, a really fast, like, fully saturated mineral line with your 3rd base, and, like, you could protect your creep and, like, push roaches with your creep to, like, make sure Hellions are off of it or whatever. It's a great response to someone who opens up with a reactored factory. If you notice someone is opening up, like, 2-1-1, though, which is what this guy did, he's not opening up roaches. He's opened up Marine with Stim Pack. Don't fucking make roaches against that unless you're going to go for a 100% roach playstyle. It makes no sense to support roaches and go for a little bit of roaches against someone who's going to pressure you with a bunch of Stimpack Marines. Having a little bit of roaches is going to get completely shit on by Stimpack Bio with Medevac. So, yeah. Now, coming back to the Evo Chambers, you should be adding these on when you add on your Hydroden. And you should be adding on your Hydroden when you can afford it, and that is when you have 3 fully saturated mineral lines and 6 fully saturated gas. Then you add on Evos plus Hydroden plus Macro Hatchery plus 4th base. That is when you add all that shit on for a standard-ish build. A nice, easy-going standard build. Because that allows you then to be able to support your build with all your larvae. It allows you to also, if you can, set up your 4th base and saturate it. Otherwise, it gives you a lot of larvae to then defend your 3 base saturation with if the guy 2 base outlands you. It gives you options. Evo Chambers are awkwardly as fuck timed this game. It's like too late for aggression and it's too early and it's fucking up your mid game. It's in between in a weird way. So like here's what I'm trying to say about, like, again, there's a lot of problems with why your Zerg is weak right now throughout this game, what we talked about. But these Evos particularly is one thing that I could say is because you did not make aggression and you made your Evo Chambers somewhat early, the later you make them, like you didn't make them as early as you could. You made them in like a weird middle ground area where you made them before you were fully saturated, but you made them after, like way after you had Ling Speed. The longer you wait to make them to then have 1-1, the longer you have to wait to do pressure with Lings with upgrades. So you're missing your window to do damage. It like completely defeats the purpose of making them early. So there's no counterattack potential there. But then you made them early enough to where you made them way before you were fully saturated. Way fucking before you were fully saturated. So it's going to take longer to fully saturate, which means it's going to take longer to finish the economy development phase of your gameplay, because now you have to get gas faster than otherwise you would have wanted to. It really fucks up your gas production because it's so expensive so early. So that now, later on, when you want to be cranking out an army that develops your supply really fast, you're going to have a slower developing process for the later stages of army production, because you're staying longer in the economy development stage because you're fucking it up. You're making it take longer to make drones and saturate bases properly because you're adding in expenses you don't need at that point. So the trade-off is instead of having like 150 supply with 0-0 army that's on its way to be 1-1, you're going to have 110 supply of units that are 1-1. You're going to have like 40 supply less, but you're going to have 1-1 upgrades. And that is not fucking good. It's not worth the trade-off. Because, again, the reason why it's not worth the trade-off is because you're fucking your larva up this game like crazy by doing this, because you're adding in an inefficient build-up of your build, which means you can't afford it, so your larva sits there forever.
Oh my gosh, they're attacking our cream towers. Our army is scrapping.
And that's why, these are the reasons why, if you ever attack Terran, okay? If you ever take a fight against Terran and you go, oh shit, this guy just like literally didn't die, and he like ran me over. Like I didn't have enough Zerg to swarm him and kill him. There's a problem with your build. Something is going wrong for you, because if your build was actually appropriate, the concept of you running at the Terran and overwhelming him and blowing up all of his Marines and swarming him, and he like has to load up and fly away, or he's just dead or whatever. There's a problem if that's not happening with your build. There's 2 problems that are happening, and the first one is the problem of not actually swarming him and killing him. The second problem is why the hell is your creep not this far out at 10.5 minutes? And that could be a problem of, where the fuck are your queens? You have 4 queens. That's it. And a ZvT. That is not enough. You need to literally make up to like 10 queens in total, or like 11 queens. Have like 3 injecting hatcheries, and have like 7 queens or something roaming around. Then have them spreading creep like crazy and defending early game pressure. And then, as you add on macro hatches and expansions, take some of your creep spreading queens and stop spreading creep with them and have like 1 queen now. So let's say you have 7 creep spreads and 3 injectors to give you a total of 10. Well, let's say you take a 4th base. Now you have 4 injectors and 6 creep spreaders. Take a macro hatch. Now you have 5 injectors and 5 creep spreaders. Let's say you take another base. Now you have 4 creep spreaders and 6 injectors. You're totally able to do that. More than 100% capable of doing that. And it is such an efficient way to set up your early game defense, because queens are amazing at early game defense. And the beautiful thing about queens is they don't cost larva. So it does nothing to disrupt your economy. About the only thing you could argue that making queens early game does that could potentially disrupt your economy a little bit is you have to make overlords a little bit faster for like a couple of them. You're not making like 80 queens or 50 queens. You're making like 7 of them. More than otherwise you would have wanted to have made. Which is, or like 6 more than, like you made 4 this game. And if you made 10, I would have been super happy. So you're making 6 extra queens, and 6 queens is worth 12 supply. And 12 supply is less than 2 overlords can provide. 2 overlords provide 16. So it's not even that big of a deal on your larva for overlords. It's very minor, is what I'm trying to say here. And it would be such a better overall developing process for you to have that than what you've done this game, where you're bouncing between roaches and like a Bane's that's a little bit later, but you still have both tech now, and then you're getting really crazy upgrades at a really awkward time, and you have undersaturated mineral lines. This one's good. It's not actually one over, but it's mostly good. This one was under the entire time ever since you made the Evos, and this one has been under like forever. Really fucking not great for you. And then if you had more queens, you'd have more creep, and if you engage this army with a good amount of supply and also good creep spread, you would fucking run him over so hard. But you don't have either. You don't have creep, and you also don't have enough army. So now you're just gonna die. Efficiency is not your friend right now with your build order, and it literally is for all the reasons we talked about. Your early game choice of build order. The best way I could describe your gameplay, Decon, is your build order looks like a build that needs to get damage done to justify the cost of what you've done to yourself. And you didn't do any damage at all to this guy the entire fucking game, aside from killing 1 SCV, and that's it. You did nothing besides that. And killing 1 SCV is not worth kicking yourself in the nuts 10 times in a row until you can't even stand up anymore. Because that's what you've essentially done to your build. You have fucking crippled your build like crazy to kill 1 SCV without even really fully realizing what you've done to yourself. Like this build, you have massacred your own economy development here throughout the game, as we talked about. Not great for you. And yeah, like I said, it's all like I'll harken back to what I said like 20 minutes ago or something. All it does when you have a build that develops in a way that is inefficient for yourself, all it does is it makes the rest of the game feel more difficult than it has to. You're gonna be like, wow, ZvT's fucking hard. But if you had a better opener that was more efficient, you'd be like, wow, ZvT's not that bad. It's actually very doable. But again, your build is all about disrupting your opponent's build while it also disrupts your own build. But you're not even disrupting your opponent's build, so all you're effectively doing is disrupting yourself, and that's it. Which makes the entire game harder for you. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Definitely go check out some build order advice from another replay analysis or coaching lesson that I've done. Like I said, I've done like 30 of these. Even like in the last year, I've done so fucking many of these because this is like probably the most commonly requested thing I have to do all the time. So this time I did a little bit of a different kind of way. I really talked about what you're doing specifically rather than what you should be doing with just a build order, because there's lots of examples of that. And I want you to know why what you're doing isn't working. That's why. It's because it's inefficient as fuck. And what makes sense about like how it should have, like the Evo Chambers is a big one. Like, how the fuck do you use Evo Chambers properly? Either you get the Evo Chambers after you're fully saturated when you start making crazy amounts of units and you'll be really high supply and upgrades will eventually happen. Or you prioritize upgrades early and then it becomes a game where you're all about counterattacks and you're all about weaving in Lings to your build to disrupt your opponent's economy. So although you might be 30 drones less than you should be at 6 minutes or 7 minutes.
Good morning.
The goal is you're going to kill your opponent's like third base, or you're going to kill like 30 SCVs, and you're going to create a very awkward game for your opponent because they're going to have low economy because you're attacking so much and you're always counterattacking and shit like that. Like, it's a different playstyle. Someone who does something like this that's really good at it, that it shows really good examples of what the power could be like out of early Evo Chamber upgrades in ZvT is someone like Raynor. Raynor is really fucking good at going early Evo Chambers and making it look overpowered because he knows how to counterattack like a fucking boss. Yo, Means Horns. Thanks for the 2-month resub. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. But anyways, Deccan, Madaisy, Madassy. Thank you very much for doing an analysis. I hope this helps you. And I hope this helps you understand ZvT a bit more. Definitely spread that creep a lot more. Definitely get into a more efficient build. And then your Ling Bane Hydra mid-game will feel so much fucking stronger. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. Hopefully you're cool with watching another analysis of like just watching a build order. Because that I definitely recommend you do it. It'll also help you a lot. Like understanding like how to just make a build order look good. But anyways, guys, I will see you in the next one, in the next analysis, whatever that may be. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Good luck in your future games, Madassy, and yeah, take it easy, guys. Much love.